What's up everyone and welcome back to another video. So as you probably know by now, Chapter 3 Season 4 is a very unique season. With the loot pool unlike anything we've seen in recent seasons, players that seem to be constantly improving, and so many other factors, it makes sense that a lot of people are struggling to win fights in this season. And that's why in today's video I'll be doing my updated guide on how to win more fights in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 4. I'll be going over all the best methods you should use in order to become more consistent, become a better overall player, and in turn win more fights in Fortnite. Before we get into it though, be sure to drop a like on the video if you find it helpful, and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. And as well as that, before we hop into it, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Buff. If you haven't heard of Buff before, then boy do I have a surprise for you. Buff is essentially a platform that allows you to make money by literally sitting down and playing Fortnite. I know it sounds too good to be true, but hear me out. What Buff does is it connects to your game and collects anonymous information about your gameplay, as well as giving you various challenges to complete in-game. Both of those things earn you buffs, which are essentially the currency that Buff uses. With the buffs you earn, you can redeem them for all sorts of things like gift cards, V-Bucks, or even gaming equipment. And Buff doesn't only support Fortnite either. In fact, you can earn buffs with tons of other games as well, such as CSGO, Minecraft, Apex Legends, Valorant, PUBG, League of Legends, and so many more. Best of all, Buff is completely free to use. It literally costs you zero money. It runs completely in the background without interrupting or slowing down your gameplay at all. And it's authorized by Overwolf, meaning it's completely safe. So overall, Buff is literally free money for playing video games. It doesn't get much better than that. So with that said, if you'd like to give Buff a shot, I'll be putting a link near the top of the description and in the pinned comment where you can sign up and get started today. Thank you, Buff, once again for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off today's video, the first obvious topic to cover when it comes to winning more fights is going to relate to your loadout. Depending on the way you play and what your general skill set looks like, you may want to carry different weapons and items over others. That'll allow you to better play to your strengths and thus perform better in game. So the loadout that I personally prefer using at the moment in solos is going to look something like this. It'll be a Ranger AR, a Prime Shotgun, Rapid Fire SMG, and then 2 slots for heals as well as utility items. However, this is going to vary depending on your playstyle. Since my AR aim is really good, I like to take shots with the Ranger as I find it hits really hard and I can use the first shot accuracy to hit massive shots before initiating the fight. Then I find the Prime Shotgun to be best just because it's just stronger overall. I really don't see as much of a use case for the Lever or Evochrome, honestly. The only reason I carry both an SMG and AR in this loadout, specifically the Rapid Fire SMG, is because I need something to switch to from my Prime Shotgun. And then the 2 slots for heals and utility are pretty self-explanatory. However, these loadouts are going to vary depending on how you play. For example, instead of my AR Shotgun SMG loadout, you may want to carry just 1 mid-range automatic weapon, a shotgun, and then 3 healing and utility slots. Or you could even throw in a sniper. The automatic plus shotgun loadout is pretty good for close range, but you won't really have much when it comes to getting tags from really far away. So obviously it's not as viable in a tournament, but if you're just W keying, then it's perfect. But if all your fights are in close range, it's definitely worth considering, especially if you hold something like a Hammer AR, which can somewhat stand as an SMG as well as hitting from range. Overall though, I recommend you experiment a bit to find your preferred loadout in order to win more fights. The 3 main loadouts nowadays are pretty much the AR plus shotgun plus SMG, like the one I carry, as well as the automatic plus shotgun and the automatic plus shotgun plus sniper. Depending on how you like to play and your general skill set, you may prefer certain ones over others, so consider each playstyle I've talked about and see which loadout suits you best. Moving on from that though, and into our second tip for today's video, and we've got a classic tip, which is to grind piece control. Piece control is one of the biggest separating factors nowadays for players in Fortnite. If you can piece control super effectively, you're already ahead of 90% of players you'll run into, and you'll be able to end fights super quickly just by boxing your opponent up and getting a good peek. Essentially, piece control is just the act of controlling the fight through your builds and edits, and the ultimate goal is to get your opponent in a position they can't escape. And if you're looking to practice your piece control and get up to speed with it, then the best way to do that in my opinion is with Raiders Piece Control Practice Map V3. This map has over 25 different piece control scenarios, some of which you can see on screen. Each one represents a different situation and gives you specific instructions on how to box up your opponent and secure the kill specifically in that situation. It's a super easy map to use and it works like a charm, so if you're not using it already, I'd urge you to get started. If you want to give it a shot, I'll put the code up on screen right now. On to our next tip though, and this one is absolutely crucial, especially in the current season, and that's to aim train consistently. In Fortnite, having amazing aim is one of the biggest things that separates good players from actual pros. Most people in Fortnite are competent with building and editing, you know, they can pull off some good moves, but they're not nearly as good at hitting shots consistently, their aim is clunky, and they end up getting punished for it. Having amazing, consistent aim not only allows you to dominate fights when you're on an even playing field, but a huge shot can even bail you out of situations where you get outplayed entirely. So basically, having insane aim is is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to absolutely annihilate people in fights. Regarding the actual ways to practice your aim, I typically have two different maps I recommend, which I'll go over now. The first map is by Raider464, and that's Raider's 1v1 aim trainer. In this map, you enter, you hop into the matchmaking portal, and you're going to be paired up with a random player. And from there, you can literally just grind aim duels over and over against a real player. The reason I like this so much is because most aim training is very consistent. It doesn't really have the sporadic movements and counter moves that a real player does, which is why I recommend aim duels as a realistic alternative to your typical aim practice. So if you want to give that a shot, I'll put the code up on screen right now. Onto our second aim map though, and we've got the Skavik aim trainer by Donwazi. This one is much more of a traditional aim trainer, featuring a ton of different scenarios with all sorts of focuses like tracking aim, shotgun aim, and even things like gliders, side jumps, and more. The Skavik aim trainer is, in my opinion, the most well-rounded aim trainer in Fortnite and has so many different scenarios you can practice on and improve your aim dramatically. I really think that this one plus the Raider map goes super well hand in hand. So if you want to give this map a shot and get some aim training in, I'll put the code up on screen right now. Moving on from that, and this one is more of a general practice tip, which is to practice against good players. Now, as you probably know, it's pretty easy to hop on Fortnite, crank out a couple of free builds to warm up, and then 1v1 your friend who plays the game once every blue moon, absolutely clobber them 10-0, run a couple of public matches, and then log off. But as you might expect, playing against low-skilled players and setting absolutely no standards for yourself in practice are not exactly going to yield improvement at the game, and they're certainly not going to make you much better at fighting. Practicing against skilled players is one of the most underrated ways to improve at fighting, since it essentially forces you to learn and adapt, otherwise you're going to get destroyed. For example, if you're trying to win fights in arena, then your standard in practice should be, at the minimum, the types of players you run into in arena. That means that playing public matches or playing against a friend who is not even out of open league isn't going to yield you any benefit for the players you're trying to beat. Obviously, I'm not saying to not play with your friend who's in open league or anything like that, but I am saying that in terms of practice, you can't really go and do that and then call it practice. So overall, when you're practicing, just make sure that you're fighting against the types of players that you're actually trying to beat, set that high standard for yourself, and you're going to find yourself winning more fights in no time. Finally guys, getting into the last tip of today's video, and the last tip for today is to simply practice fighting consistently. When you're trying to improve at literally anything in this game, repetition is absolutely crucial. Doing something over and over again until it basically becomes second nature is the best way to improve at basically anything in Fortnite, and that doesn't change at all when it comes to fighting. The basic premise here is to simply continue practicing fighting against skilled players constantly. Being consistently exposed to tons of different situations will allow you to improve at fighting so much. It almost seems silly that in a video about how to win more fights, I'm telling you just to simply fight more often, but the truth is that a lot of players neglect actual fighting in favor of things like creative practice. And don't get me wrong, creative practice is absolutely incredible for improving in fights. After all, pretty much half of this video was about creative, but being able to actually apply the things you know in real situations is going to come from consistent experience fighting against high-level players. So alongside all the other methods we've discussed, make sure to keep that in mind as well, and you'll find your fighting skill improving super quickly. But with all that said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on how to win more fights in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 4. Overall, by following all the tips I've outlined in this video, you should find yourself well on your way to winning more fights in whichever game mode you prefer to play. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. I've been grinding out tips and tricks content lately, and I don't plan on stopping, so be sure to hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss out. As well as that, if you want to show some extra support, then consider using code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you, and it takes like 5 seconds to type in. It seriously helps out a ton. As always, thank you so much to everyone who's using it. And finally, guys, if you want to start making money by literally just playing Fortnite, then be sure to check out Buff, which is going to be linked down in the description. Once again, it's 100% free, so there's pretty much no reason not to head down to that link and sign up. With that said, though, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.